From this spot right about here, you had the original Gray Mineral Springs discovered in 1859. That became the impetus for all of the other mineral springs to follow. The water is being prescribed in the 1880s as a cure-all. This is what led to that explosion of growth in Cambridge. Ultimately, we had 15 hotels, about 40 different cottages. You had 14 different mineral springs, which were functioning throughout the town, where only the first was actually spring, the rest were wells. Being 400 miles from New York City, 400 miles to Chicago on the Erie Railroad, you're basically 100 miles from Buffalo, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh. It's a good central location. The railroad was the way to get the people here. People were starting to come to Cambridge in large numbers. It's a boom town.
Its history is all about being a destination. It was a historical place for people to come by train. The spas were here, the water, hotels. It was really a very vibrant community.
You had the Pure Food and Drug Act in the 1915 era. Modern medicine was starting to take over. Kind of put the mineral springs out of vogue. People were traveling by automobiles more now. People weren't making us a destination so much. Now is more about a stopping point. In the 1920s, Cambridge became more industrial. We had various industries and businesses that were here. By the time we got into the 60s and 70s, industries were starting to leave.
A lot of our businesses serviced the local people, but there weren't necessarily bigger businesses that people came into town for.
People would be coming to Cambridge to spend days at the Riverside again because it was historic. It was a thriving place that really kept Cambridge together. But losing that, it was like, losing your firstborn child.
Jason went to Maplewood and I went to Meadville. His mom lives in Cambridge and father-in-law grew up in Cambridge, and we had wanted to build a brewery, and when this property became available, I guess, it wasn't really for sale, and we just kind of thought, why not build there? So we had approached the other owners and asked them about it and put an offer to them. They actually accepted our offer, and everything kind of came together, and it felt like it was meant to be.
The brewery that's there now has done so much. To drive by, it looks like a busy night at the Riverside Inn again. The parking lot is just packed.
It was such an honor to build here. Any way that we can, we will definitely pay tribute to that. We're not trying to be what the Riverside Inn was. You can't replace that. And all those people that had special occasions there, weddings, baby showers, all those things. And it's special to us to be able to bring them back on this property and create new memories.
That history gives us a little bit of an advantage. The tricky part is we can't just rely on the history to get through. So coming up with creative ways to rebrand that history or that story and coming up with different alternatives to that story. We're changing the narrative a little bit, but still keeping those community ties together.
One time the Riverside Golf Course was a premier golf course, and a lot of events happened at that Riverside Golf Course. So people hearing about it again under new ownership and a high quality new restaurant, people are excited, people are coming out to see what's going on.
This clubhouse was built in 1987 and it hadn't seen any major remodeling since that time period. So it was heavily dated. So we took and we remodeled the pro shop and turned that into the Turn, a small restaurant bar for our golfers and for the general public. Then we totally renovated the dining room, which is the Rambler. This dining room used to be packed back in the 80s and 90s, and we can't wait to fill it up again.
I think we've probably more than tripled the play that was here last year. I know memberships way up, and we have been super busy, and the feedback from the community has been amazing.
I grew up just outside of Cambridge Springs. Not only do we believe in what we're doing, we believe in this area. The history of Cambridge Springs is phenomenal. The amount of people that have come through this town over the last 150 years is absolutely staggering, right? This was the center point between Chicago and New York. That's the stewardship of what we're doing to not only honor the past, but where we think we're impacting, taking the future.
The fact that we have local people investing in both the Riverside Brewery and the Riverside Golf Course is testament to how much Cambridge Springs means to local people. It may not return to the heydays where we had the spa and the springs, but at least there's going to be a curiosity and a desire to come to town. It's the future of our town.